Hello, this is Rust and Magic. Today I thought we would have a look at some transform features in Modeler. So I usually use the Rove tool to do all the rotation and translation, but we also have the transform tool, which is a kind of a gizmo that does pretty much everything for us. So let's create an object here. I'll make a ball. That's fine. Yeah, we'll keep that. That should do it. Okay. And let's zoom in a little bit on it. So we have something to work with. Okay. Now, under Modify, we have the translation and rotation tools, and under Transform, we have the Transform tool. If we click on that, we activate a gizmo here that let us do everything in one tool. So we can move with the end arrows like that, and the arcs we can use to rotate like that. We can also use the middle boxes here to scale or stretch in one direction. Like that, and white in the middle. If we do that to drag, we scale the whole thing like size does. So we have all the tools. The orangey ovals here, they allow us to move in a plane, so in two axes at the same time. So this is a quite nice tool. Another thing we have here, if you look up here, we can press the right mouse button to align it. If we click on this polygon here, for example, with the right mouse button, we align the tool to the normal of that polygon. So now we can translate the selected geometry along the normal of that polygon. It's a quite useful tool, so that's nice. So this is a very flexible tool and can do most things. It's a little messy on the screen, but it's very flexible, and yeah, it's there if you need it. So let's play around a little bit more with transformations here. I'm going to create a ground plane. Let's make a landscape here of some kind. So 10 by 10 meters, 20 segments. Yeah, that should do it. Let's go with that. So I'm gonna show this in perspective. Here it is. And that's a good start. For a real landscape, you may want to have much higher resolution, of course, but we can also subdivide it later on. So let's create a morph. So we click on the M here and then a new morph, and let's just call it morph. And so now we're using that. You can see in the upper left corner, the blue text tells us that we are now working with the morph active. So if we go to, let's go to a front view. So we see it from the side here, and we have the move tool here. So the move tool, we press N for numeric here, and here we have the tool. So if I drag it up and down here, for example. But do notice that we have texture here and use texture. So if we click on use texture, we can create a texture. This works for both move, rotate, and size, stretch. So let's create a procedural texture here, just a turbulence. It doesn't matter. We can use whatever you want. You can use an image too, of course. So now when we drag up and down, it multiplies each point with the value in the procedural texture. So we are actually moving the different points, different distance, depending on the procedural texture. So this allows us to create a nice little landscape here, for example. So that's a good start, like that. So we have a nice landscape. We can use model and ready in Modeler here, but we can do more than that. Another quite useful tool is that we can create another morph here now. So we have the base morph, which is a flat surface. We have the morph we just created, and now we create a new one. Let's call this morph 2. And we create it, and now it's the active morph. So let's say we want to use our landscape, but we only want to use part of it, or maybe not as extreme. So if we go to the Map tab, we have the Airbrush tool. If we click on that and then press the N key, get the settings here, we can select a vertex map here, and we're going to select the morph, which is the landscape we just created before. So we select the morph, but we are working on the morph 2. So we set the size here, and we're going to now we're going to airbrush the contents of the morph we created before, and we can select how much. So just 5% here. So as you can see, we have morph 2 selected, so that's the one we are creating. If I drag here now, we are fetching data from the morph we created before, and we can select how much of it we want. We can also select where we want it, so we can have flat areas if we want a road in the middle or something. And we can select how much of the morph landscape we want to transform over. You can see here we want to keep a flat area, for example. So you have much better control of the procedurally generated landscape here. Quite useful. And we may not want to go all out to the edges, keep them straight or whatever. We can do whatever we want with the airbrush tool here. We have all the features. I think that is quite nice, and that's something I use all the time at least. And I hope you find it useful too. So we have the base morph, the morph 2. And that's the morph we created from the beginning. Now, if we subdivide this, it will be better resolution, of course, but we could have created more mesh to work with from the beginning. That would give us more details in the landscape, of course. Now, if we want to make it more realistic, we can use the jitter tool, which is quite cool. So here we're going to use Gaussian jitter, and we're just going to do it on the y-axis up and down. We don't want it to move in the other directions in this case. So let's make something small. 10 centimeters should do it, and 0 on C. So now if we click OK, we have a small movements of all the vertices to give us a more organic landscape, so to speak. So that's quite useful to give you small details. And if we press tab, we get the subdivided, looks like this. And again, you can modify this in all kinds of ways you want to get a nice landscape. So I hope you liked it and found it useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon again.